So this here is a full hip flexor stretch. So it's getting the quad, the rectus femoris in particular stretched. It'll get some of the femoral nerve, which comes down through here, stretched as well. So I'm sitting right back, my heel's touching my back, so a lot of people can't deal with this when they first start. What you want to be able to do, so even if you've got to sit more forward here, it'll take less the quad stretch. So when I bring my butt away from my heel, it'll be less of a quad stretch. As I go more forward, it's more of a hip flexor stretch and adductor magnus stretch. As I go back here though, I still want to make sure that I have the pelvis square. So I use this leg, this hamstring here to keep that hip square, and I tuck the pelvis under. And I'm crossing the hands like a Cossack here. And I'm aiming to bend, not just through my back, but the hip is curling under more as I go back. And I'm putting some pressure through my foot to support me and coming back down. So I put some pressure through that foot. And I'm aiming to get the movement to come from here, not just from my back only. So this is an active range of motion stretch. This is quite effective, this one I've found. And we'll do about 6 to 10 of these. Then from here, see if you can lift your foot off the wall. If you're against the wall, you do this against the wall. You can have your foot on a chair. See if you can lift your foot off. So I can't quite, but I'm close. And I'm really being mindful that my hamstring doesn't cramp here. Often it does. So I'm actually feeling it more in the medial hamstring and the semimembranosus and tendinosus. Then from here I push. So I'm pushing my foot down as if I was going to slam my foot against the floor. So I get a big contraction going through the quad now. So I'm getting strength in different positions of the hip and different positions of bend with the knee as well. So this helps the fascia to open and the muscles to remember that position too. And from here I try to lift off again, lift the heel towards my backside without manipulating my body. I'm just using the hamstring. About 10 seconds each time. And I'm pushing down that almost cramp just then. So I'm pushing my foot into the stirrup there. Still keeping that tuck, nothing else is changing here. 10 seconds. Then I come down as far as what you deeply can go. So I'm here and I'm pushing down now into the stirrup again, which means I'm kind of have to brace myself. I'm kind of pushing back with this leg too. But it's just because if I don't do that, I'm going to fall over. So that's good neuromuscular coordination just to hold yourself in position. Pelvis is love being strong and mobile. Flexibility, to be really flexible requires a lot of strength, especially strength in the end ranges. And then from here, I'm trying to lift my heel, my foot off the stirrup, and I'm being mindful that it doesn't cramp. You can tighten your butt when you do this too, as you're trying to lift that off. This holds flexibility in the hip flexors and the hamstrings so well, or the hip flexors mainly. And I'll see if I can go forward more, and then one last time. So I'm pushing into the stirrup, feeling quite a stretch, go down through here. To progress this, you can hold on to hand weights. You can push against the wall. But something that's got a force that makes your pelvis start to go this direction is good. So this is preparation for splits, front splits, this here. It's just getting your hips more flexible. If you do a lot of sitting, driving, this is good to do. Then I'm trying to lift my heel off there now towards the backside. I'm putting strength in isometric positions. Isometric means that there's strength going through the joint, but it's at an angle where the joint angle doesn't change. Okay, come back. good to let the pressure out of the joints after doing these, just a few hip circles, just move side to side. Our body's meant to have alternating compression as we walk. One part compresses, other releases, other part compress, other part release. Meant to do that. The problem is that it doesn't do that properly. So I'm squaring the hips up. Using the hamstring to square it up so I'm not open. Pelvis tucked under for the stretch in my quad. I've got my foot up on the stirrup, Cossack crossing arms. Then I'm bending through the hip, somewhat through the back, but it's more through the hip. You feel a good strong stretch goes through the quad, and I'm pushing with the instep of my foot into stirrup here. And I'm doing about 8 to 10. So I've got this position here again, so I've got the pelvis tucked under. I'm using the hamstring to make sure my hips stay squared off. Got my foot up on the wall or a chair or your bed. Pelvis tucked under, and I just start to push now. Pushing my foot into the stirrup here, staying upright. About 80 to 90% contraction, power. For about 10 seconds, and I try to, from now, lift that heel off, or my foot off the stirrup. And for most people, this left hamstring feels weaker. It's one of the fundamental things in our anatomy. It's the left hamstring we need to use to actually pull the pelvis back into a better position, to connect with the left diaphragm better, to help release necks. If the pelvic mechanics isn't working too well, you lose connection with the left diaphragm in particular because of the size of it. It's not that big and it's more flat anyway. And then the body starts using the upper ribs here and the neck muscles to generate breathing. So that's why necks start to get tight. And from here, I push the foot into the stirrup again. So I feel a strong stretch go down through the quad. I'm aiming to keep the pelvis tucked under. And I just feel my pelvis making micro changes as I do this. The nervous system just letting me do things. So we're affecting the muscle spindle and the Golgi tendon organs, which are receptors in the muscle and the tendon. We're affecting 3 different types of tissue, receptors in the fascia. It's just giving stimulus for the body to make change here, and hold the change. It's okay to be here, it's safe to be here. Then I try to lift my foot off again, about 10 seconds. And I'm trying to relax here, I say trying because I'm talking is making it harder. So I try not to be, I've got to muscle this out, relax into it. If you've got to muscle it out, you're probably pushing a bit too hard for this. Less is more with this sort of thing. So I'm going to come forward now, whatever I can comfortably do. I'm pushing into the stirrup again. I'm trying to lift my foot off the stirrup now. And a lot of the time it feels like that'll never happen. But as you get stronger, even without you feeling like you can move the limb, you're activating more motor units, you're recruiting more motor units. So there's more muscle fibers of each nerve cell that goes in to the muscle that have to be activated more. And the brain reads that as like, hey, we've got more strength, we can recruit, we're safer in this position. Let's hold this position. They want us to be here. It's got a new part of their life. They want us to be here. Then I'm going to go forward a touch more. I'm going to push into the stirrup again. So I'm getting quad activation, still tucking the pelvis under. You can do all this while you watch TV as well. Just stay warm. It's good to stay warm. Flexibility improves just by being warm. So having a hot bath, a hot shower, doing this form of loaded mobility gets the muscles also staying hot too. Doing it in a hot room, already your flexibility increases. But this, doing it with the loaded, now I'm lifting my heel off the stirrup, doing it this way just helps the range stay there. There's one thing that could happen when you do a lot of flexibility training with certain types of methods is like in that one session you go, gee, I'm flexible now. Next day you go back and it's like almost back to where I was, yesterday before I started. But with this flexibility method, the next day you go back, you almost start where you ended. And it doesn't always be like that. Some days you stretch a bit too hard and the nervous system is sort of contracting a bit. So you just go gentle that day. This you can do 2 to 4 times a week is enough, and you'll get really good results. If you want to stretch more, you can do some more easier type stretching, some passive stretching, some dynamic stretching, and then come out of that. I'm just letting the pressure come out of the joints again. So 30 seconds to a minute, just letting the body recover, let it find the new coordination it has.